Aloha, I'm DreamingBear,
I'm Destiny.
and we're welcoming you to another episode of the Literati Experience. Here from the world famous now Chrysalis, a double pane glass crystalline pyramid atop a volcano. Yes, life is sometimes stranger than fiction. What do you think about what we've been going through lately with the eruption of the volcano and the red glow off in the distance? How's that?
It's exciting. I actually find it really cool. It's, like we live on a island that is thrilling and it's so much adventure with living here, and
You see nature giving birth to itself?
yeah, it's really fascinating. And I'm not scared. We're totally safe.
Although the first night, it seemed like, wow, this is intense.
It was like, whoa, this is a monster.
Right, the
A
big
lot bigger than
giant red glow off in the distance.
Yeah, we drove around like half the island, and
You could see it from everywhere.
the glow was big every single place we were. So it's like, whoa, it's like,
But it's migrated now to be a further away thing. So
yeah.
But what an auspicious time to be alive and to be together. We thought we would invite you in on our every week conversation that we have on the Literati Challenge. And that's a challenge that we've issued to people to watch one episode of Literati a day, to journal on that episode, to take in what serves you and to leave behind that which doesn't. And so we've been in that process now for, I guess, about 2 months. And I don't know, what's your so far report about the experience?
I feel like I can't live without it anymore. It's nourishing to me. It's kind of now like a new source of energy that I need. It gives me education, intelligence, and insight on the world and how I think of the world, and yeah.
Yeah, it's been a powerful experience for me too. And I think that us going over it is a process of sort of replacing bad habits of watching media that doesn't matter, that doesn't really edify us or make us feel better in who we are or make the world better in any way, and trying to create and immerse ourselves in media that does do those things, right?
Yeah.
So we have a special one for you today. We are going over Rainer Maria Rilke, also known as Rilke, depending on how you want to say that. He's an amazing artist, and he has a lot to say. He wrote a book you may be familiar with called Letters to a Young Poet, in which he had a sort of writing back and forth between himself and another poet who was up and coming, and giving him advice on how to live life, how to embrace one's darkness, and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to dive right in to what Rainier has to say today. What do we got? What's our first Rainier Rilke truth?
Perhaps what frightens us deep down is something helpless that wants our love.
What frightens us is something that deep down wants our love. Interesting. That's a powerful contemplation. It's a paradox in a way, because you think when the things that we think of that frighten us, the dark things in the night, as they say, the things that go bump in the night, those are the things that probably, if we had the right approach, wouldn't seem the way they are. I think it's about perception.
Yeah, definitely perception.
What do you get from that?
I mean, there's a lot of things, because before I read this, I definitely did not think of what I was frightened of, just wanted my love, So it's a very new thought for me to think about, and I kind of like it, because it kind of puts you in perspective to be a little less frightened, like this is a chance for me to love something even more, like it's frightening me because it's bringing out a part of me that needs to be loved, like maybe something in me that I'm frightened of, because everything is reflection in some way.
Yeah, I like that. It's sort of putting the mirror up to that statement and saying, that everything that you're afraid of about yourself is just a part of yourself that wants to be loved.
Yeah, that's what I get.
And I think the things we're most afraid of about ourselves is just being ourselves in most cases, feeling confident enough to authentically show up in the world as we truly are, faults and all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rilke. What else we got? Going on down the line of philosophical truths.
Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart. Yeah.
That's a good one, because as a young person, I remember wanting to solve the problems of the world. I remember initially what I wanted to do was I wanted to change the world. You know, everyone has that. You know, you think about Martin Luther King Jr. or somebody else who's had a profound impact. All the Literati people, in a way, changed the world, you know. And then one day I was contemplating what it means to change the world, and I got this sort of metaphorical idea that if you threw a rock at a window, you changed the window, but you're not necessarily for the better. I mean, all kinds of stuff had to happen, you know. That change doesn't necessarily mean you make the world a better place.
Mm.
I thought then, okay, let me adjust my intention. What would be a better word than change? And I thought to inspire the world, to inspire, to give the world inspiration became my sort of new modus operandi.
Mm.
What did it raise for you?
Well, I feel like there are some things that are unsolved in within me that maybe I desperately want the answers to, or I want to, you know, get on it and do something about it. But learning to just be patient and trust that the answers will come when they're meant to. And maybe, like, I know he talks about, you know, just sitting with the parts of you that are unsolved.
Still question marks.
Yeah, still question marks. And
yeah, like a caterpillar has to when it's in the cocoon. You know, it has to sit with those changes. It can't really make a flower bloom before it's supposed to. A butterfly can't emerge before it's ready.
Yeah, exactly.
And it has no idea potentially what is going to happen when it dissolves what it was, right?
Yeah.
But we are an enigma, and I think that's part of what makes life so compelling is the search for who we are, and the search for where we belong and what it all means to us, and how we can contribute to that meaning in some way.
Yeah.
That's the journey.
Yeah.
That's how you remain. All right, what else we got, Rainier? I could almost see Rainier just sitting here in this conversation with us being like, all right.
This one kind of goes along with that one. Don't seek the answers. Answers come from living the question.
We all want the answers. Like, we want them right now too, don't we? We want to know immediately what it all means without having to go through any of the steps of discovering the meaning that it makes the journey interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you got from it?
Yeah, I mean,
what does it mean for you to live the question?
It's like it's also a new thought for me because I love solving problems. I love always thinking of how do I fix this, you know, and I can't help it. I love solutions. But sometimes being in the mystery a little longer and being patient with it, you know, gives you the answer naturally. Instead of having to like forcefully find it. It will come from being in the question, you know, a little longer. Being in the mystery.
Yeah, not everything, you don't need to know how everything happens, and not necessarily knowing is what you need at this moment. It's the process of coming to the knowing that is the interesting part of the process, you know.
Yeah.
Knowing is the reward at the end of the metaphorical pie that we're diving into here, knowing.
Yeah.
But how do we get to knowing is the question. And if someone were to give us all the answers, if someone were to say, here's a handbook on life, which I've thought of writing a few times for our unborn children, to say, here's what life is as I know it, just to give them a little head start. But if someone were to give us all the answers, even then I think we wouldn't accept those answers. We would still have a deep need to discover the answers for ourselves, to know our own truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Rilke's on point still. What else you got?
Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. No feeling is final.
Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. No feeling is final. I like that. You got some dog action in the background. You're going to have to forgive us. We have 5 beautiful creatures inhabiting this world with us. And they're going to be making noises from time to time. I hope you don't mind. What does that bring up for you?
It brings up, I think I tend to want to focus on beauty and wanting things to be good and good feelings. Like, oh, that's all that life is about, but it's really not. Life is about the balance of equally feeling both sides of the spectrum. And while knowing that no feeling will last forever, even the good ones. So, why be attached to just one side,
Right. When we get a feeling in our heart, it's so, I know for me, I feel one feeling at a time. Like I'm not, on occasion you could feel like happiness and sadness or some other weird combo, but I think generally I let an emotion inhabit me. So if I'm happy, I'm completely enraptured in joy, and if I'm sad, I'm like torn into a shattered ball of pieces, and if I'm angry, and I'm a raging inferno of expression. And I think that we're afraid of feeling so totally our feelings. If we could really take our emotions and expand them into like a 3-dimensional space, like this pyramid, where we could walk around and touch parts of our feeling. I think a feeling is a dimension in a way. Like this that we occupy right now is the feeling of dimension. And he's right. Beauty and terror. He was that everyone says no. Who wants terror? But it's the spectrum, I think, is what he's referring to, is let yourself feel all the things between those 2 feelings and know that those 2 feelings are essentially also one feeling at the same time.
Yeah.
She's like,
When you see your loved ones, love life in a form that is not your own. Believe in a love that is being stored up for you like inheritance.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you truly love someone, it's really kind of natural to do that in a way. I just lost my best friend in the whole world, Blue Mountain of the Bear Clan, and friend of 22 years. And, with him, that kind of a thing came very natural, to love life in a form that wasn't my own. To me, that sort of suggests loving the people that are in your life, because they are a form of your life that is not your own in a metaphorical way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that allowing ourselves to be okay with who we are when we're with them is a big part of that as well. I mean, it's challenging though when it comes to family, which is a different than friends that we've fallen in love with, or lovers that we've fallen in love with. I think that's an easy way for it to be. But when it comes to like our actual relatives, it's a little bit more challenging.
Maybe, yeah.
What does it suggest for you? How do you relate to it?
It suggests that love isn't just for me. It's also for the other person that I'm giving to. So it's not like if I want a relationship with someone to just love them in the way that I want to love them, but to truly find a deeper meaning of love means to explore different types of love from that other person and see how they want to be loved. And that can be a different form of love that maybe you're used to, but it's worth exploring. It's everyone has their own idea of love, and I guess people like to be loved in different ways, and there's so much to explore all around it. Everyone's different. So yeah. And then he says, believe in a love that is being stored up for you like inheritance.
Yes.
I really like that too, because it's like the more you give, the more you are being filled up too,
Right.
in a way. So
Yeah. It's a mutual experience. Once you give love, it sort of expounds your own in a way.
yeah, you're gaining experience of love.
And it's kind of like, in that way, it's like you have love in escrow. You know, you have love that's going to come to you. Okay, so he says, you know, when, I like how you saw that, but when he says, believe in a love that is being stored up for you like an inheritance, if you think about it, something that was left to you, you know, something that was given to you.
Yeah.
And you receive it. Once you receive it and know that it's always there, that this life is our inheritance. In essence, it was given to us. You know, we received it from elsewhere. And something about trusting in that no matter what happens, that's the truth. That there is a love that has been stored up for you, just as this life has been, and that is your inheritance. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What else we got?
In a romance, each should treat each other as guardians of the other's solitude.
Yeah, we think about relationships. We think about you got to be with that person 24/7 all the time, or as much as you can, or whatever the case may be. But he's emphasizing the need for solitude. And I think that we found a great truth in that. You know, just naturally in our relationship, we've chosen to create space so that we can keep the desire and keep also intact our own internal mechanisms. And so when I do my travels for the TV show and the radio show and or other things, she goes away to her family, we always try to make sure that we have ample time to ourselves. And I think that that's part of the sort of key to success, as it were, to longevity.
Yeah.
Because he says later, I think, I'm not sure if we'll get to it, but he says that love is two solitudes coming together and caring for one another and protecting each other and watching out for one another.
Yeah.
And if we think of ourselves as two solitudes unto ourselves, I think that it's important that we use the solitude for more than just sleep and private time in the restroom or whatever that might mean, but for actual edification. Like when I'm alone, I find, and I think you might echo this sentiment, a great ease of creativity and expression. Of course, that happens for me no matter what across the board. I'm just consistently creative, regardless, rain or shine, happy or sad. But when I'm alone, I definitely find that that channel is much more wide open. What is it? I mean, how does that relate to what you might think, and how did this statement strike you?
I mean, we are individuals, and being romantic with someone doesn't have to mean, giving away your individuality. It can mean strengthening it in a way, enhancing it. Yeah. When you're in a relationship, I know our relationship is strong, and it teaches me so much because we're constantly reflectors for each other and what I need to learn and what you need to learn, and we're always bouncing back off each other, and in a way it's like we're even stronger individuals than we would be if we were alone, because there's more opportunities for us to learn and grow and evolve.
Yeah, that reminds me of the concept of exponential growth, where one person working alone can accomplish so much, but two people can accomplish more than twice the amount because of the exponential aspect of togetherness that comes from that. But then also I like where he says, be protectors of each other's solitude, as if to say, encourage one another to find time to come into alignment with ourselves in our own spiritual way, or whatever that might mean for us. And that knowing who we are in that regard only strengthens who we are when we're together. Right on. What else we got?
If you succeed in loving the expanse between your relationship, it gives you the possibility of always seeing each other as a whole immense sky.
Well, loving the expanse, you know, loving the expanse. There is something sweet about space. It creates the desire for togetherness.
It's true.
Without space, the desire for togetherness can be maintained, but it has to be a kind of low-level rumble. And you don't get the dramatic, passionate sort of oscillations that you get from creating space.
Yeah.
Is that what you get from it? Or?
Definitely. Yeah. I know when you go away for a few days, for a little bit, I'm like, oh yeah, I finally get some time to myself. But then at the end, I'm like, oh, I really miss you. I think of all the things that I really love about you, and I really appreciate having in my life when you're around. Good. And yeah, so
I feel the same way. And then we come back together, and it's fresh fire.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got from Rainier?
Next page.
Wise poet of olden days, speaking to us in the now. I like that about Blue Mountain. He would just burst into Shakespearean. He'd be like, well, hello, my good sire. Welcome to the table. You know, just out of random moments. That's the great thing about good friends, is that you can be silly with them as well. Okay, what else we got from Rainier? I wish he was here. He'd probably be speaking in a very specific accent.
Maybe he is here.
Yeah.
Why do you want to shut out any sadness or depression, as you don't know what these feelings are trying to teach you?
Yeah, what are sadness and depression trying to teach us? I mean, I can think back to Khalil Gibran, who wrote The Prophet. He said, pain is the physician within you healing your sick self. And I think Rainier touches on that same sort of resonant thought that inside of us, if there is pain or trauma or something like that, it's trying to teach us something and evolve us in some way into who we can become one day.
Definitely.
And the problem is that when we feel pain in modern day society, if someone gets sad for even 5 minutes, then they have a psychiatrist, and then they have medication, and then they have all these mental and psychiatric and sort of narcotic band-aids over the wound that never heals until you take it out, embrace it, love it, and then it transforms. I found that pain is something that is very unpleasant, and then once you start to understand that if you just love it, it transmutes into joy. But that process does take time. There is a little bit of pain involved in embracing pain. You know, it's counterintuitive. Who wants to turn around and embrace the things that have hurt them, or the feelings that make them sad? Some people just get lost in it. But the key is to embrace it with love in your heart and the intention of understanding it, and that somehow gives it permission to no longer be pain.
Yeah, definitely. I seem to have a habit of, when I have a certain feeling that is negative and I don't want to feel it or I don't understand it, I usually shut off, and I don't want to feel or care about anything, you know. And it's a bad habit, because it's blocking me from connecting with that feeling that can teach me something, so that I can move on and experience joy, you know. But it's like, so there's different ways that you can go with it. Some people
get paralyzed.
Yeah, they get paralyzed like I do. Or some people get angry. They turn their sadness into anger, or, you know, or they just, you know, take medications.
They say that anger is exploded sadness, and sadness is imploded anger.
Right, yeah.
They're sort of, again, back to that concept that there's a continuum of feeling, and that our job is not to avoid feeling, but to feel every feeling along the oscillation and know the difference in the range that we're capable of.
Yeah.
But you're only able to do that if you embrace all the feelings.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Some people have a problem embracing kindness. Like
Yeah.
if you touch someone with kindness who hasn't been touched with love properly, they get flinched. It's almost awkward and painful.
Right.
You know? And so, yeah, I think it's about, I hope that we have the courage to teach our children that it's okay to feel what you feel and know that it's part of a much bigger picture. You know, this is just one moment and it will pass and something else will come.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got from Rainier? We in our last sort of 7-8 minutes here.
Love is two solitudes that meet, protect, and greet each other.
We kind of touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that we thoroughly covered that.
I think so.
What else?
If your everyday life seems poor, don't blame it. Blame yourself.
Ooh.
Admit to yourself that you are not enough of a poet to call forth its riches.
Wow.
True creators are never poor.
Yes, because the source of creation knows no poverty.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to look around at your beautiful life or whatever you might think of your life, but I think of my life as beautiful, and then find little flaws and get upset about those little flaws. No, this is not exactly the way I wanted it to be. That's bothering me. This, that, that and the other. We all have these versions of it in our life, whatever.
Yeah.
Even millionaires must have it. It's the human sort of tendency
Definitely.
to nitpick with our happiness. And all that we're really doing in those moments, when you really hear it from Rainier's perspective, is we're admitting that we're not up to the task of this beautiful life. We're not really poet enough, as he says. I like that he puts it in that perspective, that we're not really poet enough. And because it's about seeing your life as a poem, or whatever you want to use that metaphor for, the thing that really rocks your world, maybe as a song or as a dance or as a whatever you want it to be, but seeing it as that thing, right? And then having the courage to meet it in that particular place.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say to you?
Yeah, I definitely can see how no matter what your situation in life is, there's always going to be something to complain about. But there's always going to be something to be grateful for as well.
Right.
And it just depends on what you focus on and where you want to grow your attention and
perspective.
Yeah.
Comes back to perspective always, doesn't it? How we see something really gives it the character or quality that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Depending on how we see it.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes back to a lot of ancient capital T truths, about beauty being in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
But I think that not blaming your life for it not being what you want it to be, but blaming yourself for not being able to see and meet your life in the place that you want to see and meet it.
Yeah.
That's a good motto to live by. What else we got in our last few moments here with Rainier Rilke?
The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater than even greater things.
Greater and greater things.
Yeah.
See, you're like, what? I don't want to be
I was
defeated.
a little confused by that.
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
But explain it.
Well, from my perspective, what I hear him saying is, as you go through life, you kind of get defeated by things here and there. And in the beginning, it's little things that defeat you. When you're a kid and you don't get the toy that you want, you stomp and scream and cry. You're kind of defeated by that little thing,
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit older, and then maybe your dog dies, and then and then something else happens. But the point of life is to not let the little things get to you, but to let, if you're going to be defeated by the great things in life, and to have your composure in the midst of the other little things that you got defeated by before.
Right.
And that sort of signifies to me a spiral progression in life, where we're going from a maturity level and an ability to organize coherently who we are and express that in a coherent pattern that is in alignment with the highest, most beautiful version of who we think we could be. You know, for instance, when I pray for forgiveness, I never ask for forgiveness of my sins. I always ask for forgiveness for my inconsistency towards my highest ideals. And that's just a statement that reminds me that I'm not bound by any standard but the standard that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
What does it raise for you? Does it kind of resonate?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it makes sense too when you think about it like that, how you want your tolerance of defeatedness
Yeah.
to always grow higher and higher. So it's like maybe it's a little bit, and then it takes more and more to defeat you, like, and then soon you'll be very resilient to a lot of things that may defeat others, but for you, you see every opportunity to take to grow and learn and evolve from everything that may defeat you. It's not really defeating you, it's actually helping you grow in a way.
Right.
But it may defeat you in a moment.
Exactly.
And
no feeling is final.
Yeah.
We got time for maybe, I think we're kind of getting close, but what's just one last concept we can express here? I think
You choose.
well, I kind of like what he says here. He says openness, patience, receptivity, and solitude is everything. That kind of sums it up in a nice, neat little package, I think.
Yeah.
There's a few we didn't get to, but I think if we can agree that those are the things that give life completeness, you know, openness, what are the other ones? Patience, receptivity, and solitude. Just be open to the world offering you what it has to offer you. Be patient with yourself for your own inconsistencies. Be receptive to the love and kindness of others, and invest in yourself through the powers of solitude. And in those times, take it seriously. Give yourself wholly over to the experiment of creating who you are.
Yeah, you summed that up perfectly. I can't live without any of those qualities, and so.
And in fact, your middle name is Patience.
Yeah,
That's right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed sitting with us in this Literati experience. As we go through these authors, we invite you to find them and discover deeper into their works. Literati is just a sort of a dip of your toes into the fountain of youth and an opportunity to hear voices that have been extinguished by the past, but whose ideas and concepts have shaped our world today. And that in the hopes of creating new wisdom of our own so that we can create a better and more beautiful and educated world. In the meantime and in between time, viva l'evolution, or should I say viva literati.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy your life. Anything you want to say to the home audience?
Take what you can from this. This is a gift that we're giving you, and hopefully you can, you know, get something from it and have some inspiration to educate yourself and grow your intellectual abilities in the ways that you wish.
I hope.